because in addition to the quantitative results, we also use our investments as a leverage to get major policy reforms with our partner countries, because we want our investment to be sustainable for a very long time. We're not there for the short term, but we want to make sure that even after we leave at the end of 5 years, we want our investment to be sustainable for many, many years. So we complement our investment with major policy reform. For example, when we build roads in many of our partner countries, we don't build it unless the country commits to set aside some additional fee for road maintenance, because we want those roads to be sustainable for a long time. Whether in education or energy, we require partner countries to make some significant policy reforms so that at least that the investment is sustained for many, many years. So yes, we've seen some results. In fact, our President Obama, announced a new global development policy last year. It was based on MCC's model, which is an emphasis on economic growth, country ownership, transparency, accountability, and an emphasis on results.
Well, let's get closer to home now. We know that Namibia also has a compact agreement with the MCC under the Namibia Millennium Challenge account, and this basically focuses mostly on education and tourism. Why these two sectors? Are these the two sectors that were identified by the government? And also, in addition, do you also have the leeway to perhaps identify the needy sectors and make suggestions to the various governments? Let's talk about Namibia specifically.
Good. In fact, Namibia identified 3 areas: education, tourism, and agriculture. And they identified in 3 areas, also in the region of the country, where there is a lot of economic growth needs. And like other compact countries, also the Namibia government came up with those proposals after consulting with their constituencies in this country. So these are projects identified by the government through the consultation processes. These are projects that are being implemented by Namibians, and these are also projects that have been designed by Namibians themselves. So again, that's a testimony for our country ownership model. And based on what I've seen, I think they're all doing well so far.
Right, but are you satisfied with what the MCA, Namibia MCA, has achieved so far? Because I know that you have visited certain projects up north and so on. At the end of the day, were you happy?
Well, the program has been in effect now for 2 years. All right, so we do have another 3 years before the compact is completed. So I think based on what we've seen so far, I'm extremely pleased with the progress that have been made here in the last 2 years. I was up north Monday and Tuesday. I had the opportunity to visit a newly constructed school, and from what I understand, speaking to some of the kids who also received textbooks, many of them were sharing one textbook with 20 other kids. And so far, we have distributed about 750,000 textbooks, and at the end of the day, we're going to be able to distribute about 4 million textbooks so that each kid is entitled to one science, English, and math book, so they don't have to share with other kids. I also had the opportunity to visit some of the cattle farmers in that area, where we're going to be tagging about 1 million plus cattle. We're also providing them with techniques so that at least they're able to have green grass for their cattle and ability to have healthier cattle. And at the end of the day, get a better price for their cattle. Also went to a conservancy in which we are working in partnership with the private sector and government that's going to provide economic opportunities for about 100,000 people. So at the end of the day, our compact is going to impact approximately 400,000 Namibians. And so,
that's your target at the end of the 5 years.
At the end of 5 years.
Yeah.
And right now, based on what we've seen in 2 years, we are on target. And of course, much work is left to be done the next 3 years. And a lot of the work, especially when you deal with infrastructure building, most of the work is done usually the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th year. So we have good beginning, but I'm confident based on the conversations I've had with our people here and with our partners that's going to be done within 5 years with
Right.
big impact.
Right, Mr. Johannes, besides what you are being told by the partners and the stakeholders and those that are in charge of distributing these funds and ensuring that it reaches the right people, have you, wherever there's money, well, controversy also lurks, And it was the same with the MCA when it was introduced. People were asking whether the targeted people will truly benefit, from this project, or will it be a few people only, those that are in charge of this. How will you ascertain yourself at the end of these 5 years that, yes, it is mission accomplished, the 400,000 people have benefited from this, we are happy, let's take on another 5 years?
Good. A couple of things. Number one, any investment is a risky business, all right? And times you may not be able to get the desired results, and sometimes you're going to be at the target, and sometimes you're going to be able to accomplish more, right? But what we've seen so far, I'm very pleased to say that we're going to be on target. We're going to be able to achieve our goal. We're going to be able to impact about 400,000 people. And at the end of 5 years, what we do normally is to bring independent consultants to tell us the real impact of our investments, all right? So we don't even take our own numbers, all right? We want to make sure that we get a third-party confirmation, and whenever the results come out, we're very transparent, good or bad. I mean, that's the only way we could learn whether the first project that was completed is working or not. So at the end of 5 years, we'll have independent consultants in this case, and they'll tell us exactly what has been achieved. But in the meantime, we have our own information that we gather to make sure that the investments are working and are expected to reach to the population that needs it the most. Now, let me also say something. We don't finance, we don't invest in every single project that's submitted, all right? We're extremely selective. We only invest in those areas that are expected to have the most impact in terms of the ability to generate additional income, all right? So in many of the proposals, in fact, in all of the proposals that have been submitted by the government, are in the areas where the people are going to benefit the most. So that's one of the criteria. We don't invest for the sake of investing, or we don't invest because a project is very popular by a governor or a president or prime minister. We invest in those projects that are expected to have the best return. That's our goal, and that's how we've been very successful so far in all of the other projects we invested, and with those countries that have completed their 5-year program.
Right. So, but do you also carry out certain research before availing these funds to ensure that indeed there is a sector that would need your input?
Well, in terms of talking about second compact program or what?
Yes, yes.
Well, I think second compact, our mission is not to be in one country for a long time. Our mission is to help our partner countries to transition them from a dependence to become self-sufficient through investment from the private sector. That's our goal. That's why we do work with our partner countries on major policy reforms to create a better condition, to create a better environment for investment from the private sector. At the end of the day, it's not the Millennium Challenge Corporation, it's not the government that creates economic growth, it is the private sector in partnership with the public sector. And when we look at Second Compact, we look at, how the country has performed in terms of all the policy indicators. That is extremely important to us. And we also look in terms of the first investment's ability to be very successful.
Right.
So there's a lot of criteria before we could decide which country is eligible. And then, we are mandated by U.S. Congress to work with low-income countries. So about 75% of our funds go to low-income countries. 25% of our funds go to low middle-income countries.
Right. Mr. Johannes, lastly, you are in Namibia now. Perhaps you could just give us a bit more about your program, having come here. Where have you been before you came to Namibia, and what are your destinations from here?
Good. Well, 3 weeks ago I was in Armenia. And after I leave from here, I go to Namibia. Namibia.
We are in Namibia.
Excuse me. Since I've been here for the last 3 years, all I'm thinking about is Namibia.
Of course.
Okay. That tells you how much I love this country, I go to Zambia.
You go to Zambia.
Zambia is also in the process of developing a compact. which we hopefully could sign if it's approved sometimes in the next 12 months, assuming all goes well. And then from there, I go to Tanzania, and then I go back to the United States afterward.
Wow.
But last year, I was in Ghana, I was in Cape Verde, I was in Tanzania, and then, of course, I came to Namibia 3-4 days ago.
Great stuff.
But I'm extremely happy, and it's a beautiful country. And most importantly, we are making a progress. And at the end of the day, it's about a partnership. It's winning. And I believe that we have great partners in Namibia. And I'm extremely satisfied and pleased with the progress that I have seen in this country in the last 4 days.
Mr. Johannes, thank you so much for joining us. And we hope that besides the business of the day, you will find